A century ago, if you lived deep inland, eating shrimp was a luxury bordering on fantasy. They spoiled within hours of leaving the sea, and only coastal communities truly knew their flavor. Today, shrimp sit in nearly every freezer inside factory lunch trays, supermarket packs, even instant noodles. The world consumes more than 15 million tons of shrimp each year, generating close to $15 billion in global revenue. How did a fragile, spineless creature, one that survives only hours outside saltwater, become a symbol of modern supply chains? This story is not merely about food. It is the story of a technical system in which humans learn to defeat time, geography, and seasonality. We transformed a wild organism into an economic unit governed by sensors, satellites, and data. From the mudflats of Southeast Asia to dinner tables in New York, every shrimp is a small brick in a quiet revolution, humanity's redefinition of freshness. Before the 20th century, there was only one way to obtain shrimp: catch them from the wild. Fishermen followed the tides, cast their nets at night, and hoped the currents would deliver a fortunate haul. The system depended entirely on seasons, weather, and geography. Shrimp became symbols of regional identity. Maine lobster carried the cold brine of the North Atlantic. Vietnamese black tiger shrimp absorbed the sediment-rich flavor of the Mekong Delta. But that very localness was a barrier to globalization. Without refrigeration or cold chain logistics, freshness was a fleeting moment between sea and plate. In that era, the value of shrimp was measured by scarcity. High-end restaurants in Paris or Tokyo flew live shrimp by air, an expense often dozens of times higher than their nutritional value. Flavor was no longer a sensation on the tongue. It was an economic privilege reserved for those who could afford to conquer distance. The turning point arrived in the 1970s. Along the coasts of Thailand, Vietnam, and Bangladesh, poor farmers began experimenting with a bold idea: raising shrimp instead of catching them. At first, they built simple earthen ponds. But gradually, intervention deepened. Water sources were filtered. Microbial populations were regulated. Feed was calculated by computer. A new industry was born: aquaculture, agriculture beneath the water's surface. Unlike fishing, shrimp farming does not rely on seasons. It converts a complex natural process into an artificial operating system. Oxygen is pumped by sensor. Temperature is stabilized. Antibiotics suppress disease. Stocking density is optimized by data. Humans no longer merely harvested nature, they reprogrammed it. Shrimp became one of the first products for which fresh no longer meant just pulled from the sea, but rather precisely managed from the first minute of life. Within a few decades, Southeast Asia transformed from impoverished coastline to the seafood workshop of the world. Today, at supermarket counters, wild shrimp almost always cost more than farmed shrimp. A paradox. They are not dramatically tastier, not nutritionally superior, yet they may cost up to 50% more. The reason lies in the economics of scarcity. Each wild shrimp represents hours of labor, fuel expenses, and weather risk. Farmed shrimp, by contrast, are optimized like manufactured components, costs distributed across millions of units. If wild shrimp represent uncertainty, farmed shrimp represent predictable repetition. Consumers are paying not for protein, but for the idea of nature, a feeling carefully packaged in marketing language. Studies by the Food and Agriculture Organization show that protein, lipid, and mineral content between the two are nearly identical. The true difference lies in narrative, the story constructed by labeling. In modern economics, natural is not a biological condition. It is symbolic value. Like diamonds precious, because they are rare, not because they are necessary. As aquaculture expanded, its darker side surfaced. Pollution, mangrove deforestation, excessive antibiotic use. The world responded by inventing certification systems. Marine Stewardship Council (MSC) for sustainable wild capture. Aquaculture Stewardship Council (ASC) for controlled aquaculture. And programs like Seafood Watch, developed by Monterey Bay Aquarium, which evaluate the environmental footprint of seafood products. A shrimp must now be not only fresh, but also ethical. Through a QR code printed on packaging, buyers can trace farms, feed sources, even the carbon emissions of transportation. The label becomes a passport of trust. Interestingly, this too is a form of soft governance. Instead of law alone, markets and consumer emotions shape standards. Sustainable shrimp become political symbols of the global middle class, those who wish to eat well without feeling guilty. Thus, freshness expands in meaning. It is no longer just texture or sweetness, but peace of mind, the assurance that a shrimp did not devastate an ocean. In the 21st century, the boundary between natural and artificial has dissolved into global logistics. A supermarket shrimp is no longer simply a gift from the sea. It is the product of hundreds of synchronized technologies, temperature sensors, cold chain systems, satellite tracking, blockchain traceability. The price you pay does not reflect ocean flavor. It reflects the complexity of the system that delivers it to your plate. Humanity has redesigned the concept of freshness, transforming one of nature's most fleeting states into something storable, transportable, and controllable. And perhaps today, fresh is no longer a biological attribute. It is a human victory over the limits of time.